So, welcome to the next edition of the Rare Business Podcast. Today, with me, I have Jon Ferrara. Hi, Jon.
Hey, Adrian. So nice to be here with you this afternoon.
Thank you. So, Jon, first of all, tell us a little bit about you and your background and where you've come from, just for the benefit of our readers and listeners.
Okay. Well, Adrian, sometimes I feel like the Don Quixote of relationship management. I've been in this business before it was a business. 20 years ago, I had a personal need for relationship management, sales and marketing automation. And back in those days, we ran around with a thing called a leather-based daytimer. Do you remember that? Have you ever used one of those?
I think they were called a Filofax in Europe.
Yeah. And we communicated with pink while you're out slips, and we did our sales forecast on spreadsheets the night before they were due. And I just thought that process stunk. And I looked for a solution that would enable me to not just automate myself and my relationships and my sales pipeline, but be able to do that as a team, because I truly believe that salespeople don't work in a vacuum. They work as part of a larger team, and everybody in the team touches the customer. And so I looked for a product that would allow me to run a wire through all of our daytimers so we could all be on one page in managing and nurturing our customers. And I couldn't find it. And with a college buddy of mine, we created something called Goldmine. Have you ever heard of that product?
I've used Goldmine.
Yeah. And some say Goldmine pioneered the CRM space. I know that for the 10 years that I was part of that company, we had a lot of fun, and we helped build this whole market. And today, what I find myself is having to reteach what I taught 20 years ago with Goldmine, is that business is about relationships. It's about listening to the customer and understanding their needs and providing products and services in the most efficient and professional way possible. It's simple as that.
Sure.
The problem is today, the channels of communication and the ways of engagement with the customers has radically shifted, and businesses need to shift with that. And what that means is that the way that we communicate with our customers and how they communicate with us and where we keep those contacts and the channels of communication have radically shifted and exploded, and it's just hard to manage it. And so I'm back with a product called Nimble that helps people do that in a very social way.
That's how this conversation came about, because I spoke Richard Young, who is heading up your team of business development, I think, for the EMEA region, presented at a conference I was at, and showed me the platform as part. He showed us the platform as part of the presentation, and how it all integrates everything from email to Twitter to Facebook to LinkedIn and so on, and Google Plus, and etc., and so on and so forth, and pulled all these connections and things together, and also all the threads and the timeline together. And I just thought, I like it. I like it a lot. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to see it, because I think there's a lot of people talk about, customer relationships, customer engagement, customer, relationship management and software. And then the next big thing is a social CRM. And I struggle with it sometimes, because it seems to me that there's a lot of people that are in the vendor space, and they just they're trying to take an existing system and then badge it with a social bit. And I'm thinking, I'm not really sure that it does the job that it's supposed to do. And that's why I was really excited when I saw the Nimble CRM system.
Well, Adrian, I think you're hitting the nail on the head there. Let's step back and define CRM.
Okay.
CRM was really created by management to control salespeople and contacts, and to keep the finger on the pulse of business and manage the pipeline.
Sure.
Ultimately, management truly doesn't trust employees or salespeople. They don't trust them not to walk out the door with the contacts. They don't trust them to make the calls they're supposed to make and to make their sales. So CRM is a logging tool. It's a database that you force your salespeople to log what they did, who they did it with, and what they think the possibility of sale will be.
Mm-hmm.
And many people call CRM things like, Salesforce, Salesforced.
Yes.
And the thing is that how many salespeople do you know are good at data entry?
Exactly.
Right?
Good at talking to people, not necessarily good at data entry.
No. And so CRM forgot what the R is. It's about relationships.
Yeah.
And so a CRM vendor goes in and listens to a business owner's needs and says, what kind of reports do you want? Then they modify the CRM database to collect that data, force a salesperson to type it in. They write reports that run that. And the funny thing is that salespeople end up just typing in whatever management wants to see. And the saddest thing is many managers don't even look at the reports. And
Sure.
this is the state of CRM. Nothing about engagement or relationships or listening. It's basically a tool to log what you do and who you do it with. And I think that relationship managers should automatically log what you do, who you do it with, and then tell you things you don't know. Tell you the right customer at the right time, on the right channel, and the right message, and enable you to engage with that person in an authentic and relevant way, and then measure the effects of that engagement so that it then shows you the result of your efforts so that it becomes a daily habit. And
Sure.
if you
Sure.
have an engagement tool that actually does something for the line level business person, and I say that because it's not just about salespeople, it's really about everybody in the company. If you have something that enchants them and empowers them, they'll use it. And if they use it, then the system will automatically have the data necessary for management to run those critical reports. And so when you talk about CRM, it's basically an industry that kind of started after Goldmine, because Goldmine was really predated SFA and CRM, and we were about relationships and engagement and empowering the line level business person to nurture and build their business network and drive that into profitable revenue. And so what happened is CRM came about after Outlook. So the contact stuff wasn't built into the CRM, and it's really more of a logging system. And now that social is out, CRM vendors are trying to strap social on the side. And I liken that to putting mud tires on a passenger car and calling it something that you can drive out in the mountains.
I think it's the same, and I think what's fascinating for me is like, whether it's CRM and social CRM or whether it's the customer experience space. And there's a lot of, if you like, legacy vendors, it seems, in the space that are rebadging themselves to try and make themselves feel sort of relevant and hip and sexy again because they're in that new sort of burgeoning space.
Right.
But one of the things that it feels to me is that what also a lot of people don't necessarily acknowledge, and you touch on it there around customers. CRM is not necessarily about sales only; it's about the whole organization. And if you remember a book, I guess he's going back a few years. Remember Peter Senge in The Fifth Discipline?
Mm.
And when he talked about the learning organization.
Yep.
Well, CRM effectively is our ability to remember stuff.
Right.
And I think that our memory of experiences and data and things that have gone before and how we respond to that and how we think about that and is in our own lives as well as in our business lives, but particularly if you think about our own lives, is that the future of our relationships is largely determined by the things that we've done in the past as well. And we have to remember those things, but also learn from them in order to help build a better future relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is a relationship with your constituency, and I say constituency because it's not just customers that drive a business's ability to grow.
Yes.
It's analysts, editors, bloggers, third-party developers, business partners. There's a whole community that you need to nurture in order to do that. And your customers and prospects just don't talk to the salespeople. They talk to customer service, product, and hopefully your C-level suite. And so I think the biggest mistake that businesses make today is they think that social media means hiring a 25-year-old kid and putting him in front of your company with Hootsuite, and that's basically your listening and engagement. Yeah. Or using social media for marketing. When in reality, social media is a conversation channel. It is an ability for you to listen and engage, and that listen and engagement should be done by sales, marketing, customer service, product, and especially the C-level suite, your management team. Because ultimately, a social business means external listening and engagement and internal collaboration, all tied to who you're listening to and collaborating about, your community, your constituency, and your customers and prospects. And the reason that's critical is because in the whole method of engagement has shifted.
Yeah.
And I'd like to tell you a story I like to tell about the castle wall mentality. I think most companies still today behave like castles in and amongst your customers. So there's a wall around most companies, and inside that wall are your sales, marketing, customer service, management, etc. And the main people that touch the customer is marketing and sales. Marketing basically yells at them to get their attention, and then sales quickly tries to kill as many as they can, as fast as they can. And then so basically you yell at your customers about how great your products and services are and expect them to line up like lemmings in front of your salespeople so that salespeople can control the conversation and get the order. And then you expect a customer to line up in front of customer service 800 number and get service. And that's basically the two cracks in the corporate wall. And between the walls, inside the company, nobody talks to each other. Sales, marketing, customer service, they're all silos.
Yeah.
And social media is breaking down the walls of companies, and it's breaking down the walls between departments, because now customers have shut down. They fast forward the commercials, they throw the advertising away, and they have the gall to have conversations amongst themselves about what they're going to buy. And they're not talking to our salespeople. They're not looking at our glossy marketing material. And then once they've bought, they yell back at the company at whatever channel, on whatever channel they want, to whatever department they want, and expect an authentic and relevant response. And this shift, in addition to the social adoption amongst employees and team members, is causing an expectation of a business to shift and change. And so I say a social business is empowering all of your key customer-facing team members to be listening, engaging, and participating in that conversation, and more importantly, adding to the conversation through what I call the 5 E's of social business: educate, enchant, engage, embrace, and empower the customer. And what I mean by that is you got to give your knowledge away. You got to tell the customer how they can be better, not how you are better. And if you do that on a daily basis from the various key people within your company, in sales, in marketing, in customer service, and in management, your customers will think of you because you're teaching them, you're the expert, and when they make a buying decision, they'll call you up.
I think that's absolutely right. And in fact, I was smiling here when you told that story, because I don't know if you're going to think, if you're going to believe me, but I literally was going to use the absolute same analogy. Say, it's like we've built businesses that we're surrounded by castle walls, but it's almost like the customers and the technology is pulling those walls down, and the people that are living inside those castles, it's almost a bit like the Emperor's New Clothes. The walls are pulled down, and everybody's still telling them that it's still fine, but it's not. And you've got to, and I also think there's another sort of side to it. It's a bit like, if you think about history and evolution, it's almost a bit like, for some businesses in some areas, this is like an ice age that's coming.
Yeah.
And some businesses will be like the dinosaurs, and they will die out.
Well, Adrian, I'm a big believer in history and learning. And there's recent history to this matter that's so relevant. The web and browsers.
Yeah.
Okay. So when the browser first came out, managers restricted access on computers and said to employees, you can't use that.
Yep.
You can't use that. And they didn't build websites for their companies because they thought, well, why would I need a website? Who's on the web? And these companies are the ones that went aside. And companies like Amazon that built whole businesses on the web became dominant. And so if you think about social, I think that social is the fabric of humanity. We all love to connect and be connected with. And what I share an analogy on that of the answering machine. When I was a kid, I had a little box, it plugged into the wall, and it had a little red light that blinked if I had a message, and it incremented if I had multiple messages.
Yep.
Is that red light just like the red light on Facebook?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And so on a Friday night when I came home, if that light wasn't blinking and it wasn't greater than 2, I knew I was going to be in trouble from a dating and personal relationship perspective. And so we all get up on our social things and look for those red lights, those notifications, because at the inner core of humanity, we truly love to connect. There's a chemical and physical energy that happens through these connections. And that goes across personal and business. And so if that's the fabric, and we're all adopting these social channels to continue that desire to connect, this is changing the way we interact. It started with personal through Facebook and other things. Now it's shifting to business. And the expectations of authentic and relevant conversations and transparent communication is happening, where there's a revolution of expectations of employees to management,
Yeah.
and a revolution of expectations from customers to the vendors. And the wonderful thing about this is, through change is opportunity. And that's what we built Nimble, to empower that future social business, whether you're an individual or you're a team, for everybody to be on one page, to be able to build and nurture their personal brand and their business network, to drive that into opportunity. And this is a revolution, and it's going to be very powerful and very beneficial to those that get on early.
I think you're absolutely right, and I'm glad you brought it back to sort of Nimble and things, because I think be interested in your view in this, but it's like I think we're at the very, very start of all of this, I think, and there's going to be some fantastic changes and developments over the next sort of 3, 5, 10 years. So I think we're in a very, very, very exciting time. But tell me a little bit about so Nimble, suitable for all businesses and roles?
Well, let's just start with, what is a business professional's job? What do you need to do, whether you're an individual person or you work at a company? I think that if you think about it, and I'm going to use a word that may date me, many business people were hired for the Rolodex.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
Context, right? And so I think today the personal brand that you project, the business network that you've nurtured and cultivated, is the power of your ability to be effective as a business person. And so if you're good at that, you're going to be great at whatever you do. And that's the core of contact management. Yeah. And that's what Nimble does great. And that's the problem with CRM. I'm going to bring it back to CRM for a second. I challenge you to talk to any CRM analyst or editor or blogger and ask them if they use a CRM. They don't. You talk to the vendors and ask them where they spend their time. They live in Outlook, Address Book, or Google Contacts, and now more and more Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram, Foursquare, and they try to manage all that with Hootsuite. Yeah. We're living in 6 different tabs in our browsers and 3 different apps on our desktops, and none of them are connected. In fact, even in Google itself, are you a Google guy or an Outlook guy?
I'm a Mac guy, but I do use Google as a sort of a mail server.
Okay, so you're an Address Book, Apple Cal, and Apple Mail person, right? Yeah. Okay. Did you know that you live in 3 silos just at the core of your relationship management? Oh,
absolutely. And I tell you what, since I started using Nimble, I'm thinking that's brilliant. And I'm going to ask you a question, John. Is like, when's the iPhone app coming?
Well, there's 2 issues with that. You're going to want an iPhone app, and you're going to want us to talk to iCloud, ideally, right? I mean, you can map Google into your Apple environment and have synchronization that way. But native support for iCloud would be great. Our iPhone app, our intention is to have something available in Q1 2013 because our customers need mobile.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
That's for me. I've been able to do. I use @me.com address, and I've moved to sort of the iCloud and things, but I'm also using Google, so I'm using different sort of platforms.
Right.
But I've been able to sync it all together within Nimble with a bit of help from your support guys, who were fantastic, by the way.
Thank you. I love them. I want to bring it back to the way you work, because this is going to be educational to your audience.
Sure.
So in the old days, we lived in our Rolodex, or 6x9 cards. And then you move it forward, we shifted into contact managers, Acton, Goldmine. And then Outlook became prevalent, and we all lived in Outlook for a while. Now, today, you don't live in any one place. So I live in Google and Apple Contacts, and in Nimble, and in Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. So my contacts are basically all over the place, and as are yours. But the core of it, the problem is that when you bring up Outlook, Address Book, or Google Contacts, the contact record, you don't have context to your contacts.
Sure.
You don't know what's pending, who's going to do it, what's been done, who's done it, or the conversations that have occurred. And if you don't have the history of the relationship, you have nothing. So then you go into your calendar and you see you have this meeting with Jon Ferrara. You can't bring up my record from Apple Cal or Google Cal. And then if you go to the email and you see an email from me, you still don't have the context of the conversations because I've got 3 emails and 6 social profiles, and we could have our conversations shift from one channel to another depending on the need. And that is the problem that caused me to basically say, this is a huge opportunity. And 3 years ago, I saw all this coming and I built Nimble. Because 3 years ago, you can imagine nobody even had APIs were just coming out for social. So nobody even had an idea of what this was. But because I helped invent this category 20 years ago, not only did I see it, but I saw a way to reinvent it. Because you can't strap social on the side of an existing old architecture and expect it to operate properly. And that's why we built Nimble from the ground up to enable an individual business person or a team of them to bring their disparate contacts, calendar, communications, and social conversations into one place to collaborate and grow a business.
I mean, this is such a fast-growing space and fast-growing sort of business and fast-changing rather business environment. I mean, what are the future challenges for Nimble kind of going forward? I mean, is it going to be the proliferation of platforms?
When you say platforms, are you talking about
like Twitter
network?
Yeah, like Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of those different sort of things. Is it that, or is it going to be a consolidation? I mean, or what are the future challenges that you see coming out from Nimble and business professionals as your customers?
I think the challenge for business professionals is minimizing the noise and maximizing their effectiveness.
Right.
I think that we all feel like we're digging a hole in the sand every morning.
What a great picture.
That you basically, if you think about the way you operate your day, you go into your inbox and you're assaulted. You're assaulted with inbound conversations that you're responsible to respond to. That people expect that they send you an email that you're going to not only respond to it, but follow up and keep track of all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I get 500 emails a day. And how do you manage that? And besides email, all the other channels of conversations, if you're active out there, if you're educated and nurturing and sharing content, I probably have 200 social interactions, plus ones, comments, likes, follows, retweets, friend requests. How do you manage all of that? That is the problem for business professionals. Whether we have a minimum of the platforms that are out there today, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram, Foursquare, Google+, or additional networks come out, Nimble's job will to be reduce the signal to noise to help business professionals keep on track with the key things they need to do to build their personal brand, nurture the network, and drive revenue. And that's the magic of Nimble, because imagine this, Adrian, because I have access to your whole social graph through our algorithms, I can tell you when you last touched somebody, what you should or could be doing, and help you stay top of mind with that person. And there's an actress named Mae West who said, out of sight is out of mind, and out of mind is out of money, honey.
Yeah.
And business is a top of mind game.
Yeah.
And I think that if you talk to any coach, they'll tell you it's the basics that wins games. Forget the fancy stuff. It's the basics. Say what you're going to do what you're going to say, stay top of mind, follow through, and that helps you not only to retain customers, but get referrals and get orders. And so what Nimble does magically is surface opportunities for engagement and keep you on track with your key contacts. And nobody's doing that. And so I don't worry about the noise of additional competitors, because ultimately I believe that if we stay focused on our customers and teach them how they can be great, teach them how powerful they can be by leveraging social media and social business, and then give them the fishing pole to surf and to fish in that social river, that our business will continue to grow and we'll continue to add magic to the Nimble platform with additional channels that open up in the future. I'd love to see things like SlideShare in there. I'd love to see Pinterest and Instagram in there. And the reason why, Adrian, is because you can go stare at somebody's Facebook page and try to look up their likes. Yeah. But if you go to my Pinterest or my Instagram page, you could see pictures that tell 1,000 words. You can get to know me in a heartbeat.
Sure.
And if you do that, it's a much easier job to build that relationship that will enable me to open up to you about my business issues, which as a professional you should be solving. And this is what we do at Nimble.
Fantastic. So does that mean that you're also going to, one of Nimble's key roles going forward is going to be also educating your customers around here's how you can get better use out of what we see in your kind of social graph? So is it going to become more of a proactive system as well?
Yes.
Fantastic.
I think that Nimble's job is to consolidate the channels, lower the noise, surface the opportunities, and empower you to do the key things that you need to do each day to move the ball forward.
Fantastic.
So basically that contact management stuff, what do I got to do today? Who do I got to do it with? What did I do last time? And what are the things I can do to touch this person in an effective and authentic way? And then measure that to show you the results of it so that Nimble will be your relationship dashboard that you wake up in the morning and go to sleep at night and it pats you on the back and says, good job.
Sure. Nice. So I also wanted to say is when you were talking about doing the basics right, there's a film. I watched a film last night called Moneyball. Have you seen it?
Love that movie.
And I just think it's exactly the same thing. Billy Beam and was Peter Brand in the film, but Peter something else in real life was. It's all about doing the basics. Get on base. Get on base. Get on base.
Yeah, and you know what? The basics aren't that hard, but it becomes hard when you're digging a hole in the sand every day.
Sure.
And so what I want to teach people is rather than going to their inbox and trying to connect with those 300, I'm going to give you the 10 you really need to touch. Fantastic. And instead of looking at your social graph and getting distracted by the hundreds of people that are out there, I'm going to tell you the 5 that you really should connect with. And that's the power of Nimble. Is helping you stay on track, surfacing opportunities for engagement, and empowering you and your team to do those things. But the most important thing I think that we can do at Nimble is educate, is to basically add value to the conversation. Because, Adrian, I think that outside of the tech, social, Kool-Aid drinking coasts, I think that most people have no idea what social is. They think it's something you do at church or at a dance. Or if they're smart enough to know that social means social media, they think that Facebook's a place to hook up with your high school sweetheart, that LinkedIn's a place to get a job, and that Twitter's a place where a bunch of propeller heads tell each other when they're going to the bathroom. Mm-hmm. Have you tried to explain social media to friends outside of the technology industry?
I'll tell you what, I said, I was speaking to a bunch of accountants, actually, the other day, and I said, here's what I think, if you take the 3 main platforms, so Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, I think where they start in our brains, as it were, is where they get fixed, as it were. And I said, I think Facebook is where you share stories, pictures, memories and things with friends and family. I think LinkedIn is all about how do I get a better job? And I think Twitter is a bit like walking into a crowded bar or restaurant and being able to listen to any of those conversations that are going on at any one time.
I love telling stories too, Adrian. I think that it helps people to remember and to learn. Yeah. And on Twitter, what I tell people, it's like walking into a cocktail party or a business function. Yeah. You don't walk into a business function with 200 people in the room and go, hey, anybody want some enterprise consulting? Yeah. I'm your guy, right? Yeah. They're going to look at you and they're going to go, who the heck is that, right? Yeah. And so what you do is you walk into the room and you look around. You look for an individual or a group of individuals that you may want to connect with. And you walk up to that group and you pause and you listen. And you get an idea of what the gist of the conversation is. And then you begin to add value to the conversation to the point where you become part of the conversation. And at that point, they'll ask you about who you are and what you do, because you're adding to the conversation. And when new people walk in the room, they'll see you having conversations with those other thought leaders. And guess what? Now you're a thought leader. And this is basically what a hashtag is. And so a hashtag is basically a collection of people talking about shared passions and common interests. Mm-hmm. And that's no different than a community or group in LinkedIn or groups in Facebook or pages. And I think it's too limiting to think that Facebook is just a place for memories or LinkedIn's just a place to get a job. That each of them are places to nurture and build your network. and to identify opportunity, but most importantly, to share a little bit of your heart and soul.
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, I agree that it's we don't want to limit them, but I also think that there's a danger, and I think there is a danger within the social media sort of world as you talk about conversing with thought leaders and things, and I think there is also danger that we end up too many thought leaders or people that are thinking interesting things talk amongst themselves.
That's true. That's absolutely true. In fact,
if anything, we need to kind of turn around and face out the way.
Right. I think that we need to empower the masses to be the thought leaders. We need to take that thought leadership and teach the rest of the community about what all this means and how they can be more effective. And this is what I see Nimble's job over the next life cycle of our company is becoming a educator, a content provider that educates businesses about the power of social business, about how they can improve their sales and marketing and customer service and social listening and collaboration, and to tie all that together into a cohesive environment where they can nurture and grow their business profitably.
Fantastic.
And I think if you can teach, people will look at you and consider your tools.
I think that's absolutely right. So, Jon, I'm just conscious of time, and then wrapping up the sort of conversation. I always finish these conversations with one question, and that is, what would you like to shamelessly plug?
I'd like to shamelessly plug that I believe that we as human beings need to be more present with each other, to connect with real conversations, to share our passions and dreams with each other, and to empower each other to succeed with them. I think that's what we're here on the planet to do. I took time out between growing Goldmine and starting Nimble, and I raised 3 babies. And I'll tell you what, Adrian, I learned more about myself by being a present father, friend, and husband for that period of time than I did in the 40 years of entrepreneurship before that. And I think that today we have an opportunity to move beyond shamelessly promoting ourselves or just seeking profitability for a business. That if you can truly have a better understanding, connection, and empathy of the business professionals around you and to help them succeed, I think success will come to you. And so I shamelessly plug that we all need to be more connected and present. And it's sometimes it's a little hard when we're all basically spewing content and thought leadership and trying to build our brand. I think we just need to step back a little bit and remember that we're all human beings, and it's important to support your fellow human beings, and that's why I think social media community is a pay it forward society. And I think if you get out there, you listen to other people, and you help support them, they then will support you, and through that community, your business will grow.
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, it reminds me of a saying from Zig Ziglar. There was one of the books he wrote called "See You at the Top," and one of my favorite sayings from that book was, "Help enough people get what they want, and you'll get what you want."
Bingo. You know, I truly believe that Zig Ziglar, Dale Carnegie, Napoleon Hill, Brian Tracy, Stephen Covey, all of these guys are all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
That it's really the basics of business, of truly understanding your customer and efficiently and effectively helping them achieve their goals.
Yeah.
That's it. That's business. And so in closing, I'd like to ask people to follow me on Twitter. It's Jon, Jon _ Ferrara, Ferrara, and join me in conversation. Listen to some of the things I'm sharing and give me feedback on that. I'd love them to try Nimble and give me feedback on our platform as we iterate. You know, we're only a year old, and this marketplace is just beginning. It's a huge opportunity out there that we're trying to help businesses nurture and grow their networks, and I think that by getting out there and trying Nimble, they'll better understand what this social business evolution and revolution is. And if they go to nimble.com, www.nimble.com, and sign up for a business trial, normally it's only 30 days. If they email info@nimble.com and say they heard about it on your show, we'll give them 90 days.
You know what a great offer, and I'll make sure I get all this written up and linked up and everything else, and I'll let you know when it goes live. And Jon, thank you so much for sharing your insights and your expertise and your time with us today. It's been fantastic.
Adrian, I get charged up when I teach. I get charged up when I have conversations. I learn through engagement. And so I appreciate you spending your Saturday morning or afternoon with me and providing me with a platform to educate and teach.
It was my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure.
Thank you, Adrian.
All right, take care.